Tonight on Toxic Tuesday, episode 45, we're going to be talking about something that affects many families and communities, and that's suicide. September is Suicide Awareness Month, and I just wanted to add any amount of shine that I possibly could to this subject. I also invited show therapist Elijah Irving back to give his professional opinion about this subject. I thank y'all for tuning in. Let's talk about it. This is another session of Toxic Tuesday. Therapy for the people. Hello, my beautiful people. It's the King Omar Sharif. I welcome you back to another Toxic Tuesday where we turn our bad into good situations. Toxic Tuesdays are all about you, your mind, your body, your soul. I believe if we can control those three things, we'll find happiness. It is Suicide Awareness Month. And for tonight's agenda, we're going to be talking about why suicide is even an option. We're also going to be talking about some warning signs to look for as family and friends. And we're also going to be extra heavy on self-love. All right? So without further ado, we're going to bring our show therapist back. Y'all give him a warm welcome. Here comes Elijah Irving.
Yo.
Give him a big welcome, y'all.
What's good?
My brother.
What's going on, people?
It's been a little while since we saw you last.
Yeah.
I hope everything has been good with you.
Everything's great. Everything's
All
great.
right. Is the love high in your life?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Love is high?
Yes, sir.
No
Yes,
issues,
sir.
right?
No.
All right, I'm feeling good too. And
Yeah.
we putting out this love and all these messages for y'all. This is the platform that I've created and Eli is always happy to be a part of. So hopefully somebody can get something from this. And if you are able to get something from this tonight, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, y'all. We only promote love, we only promote awareness, and we're promoting growth within ourselves and so we can help somebody else.
Absolutely.
Would you agree?
Absolutely.
You're subscribed,
Absolutely.
right?
Yes, sir.
All right, I know you would subscribe.
Don't only subscribe, like.
Share, comment, hit the notification bell, y'all. Tonight is going to be extra special because we're getting a professional opinion from Eli, who has experience in dealing with people who have thought about committing suicide, all right? So my stance this evening is gonna be just asking the questions, being supportive, learning as you learn, and we're gonna be extra heavy on the self-love like I mentioned. So Eli, let's talk about it. Let me sit back with you, brother. So in your opinion, why do you even think that suicide would be an option for someone?
That's a good question. I think that it's be a myriad of reasons why someone would even consider suicide. I think that a lot of people start to get to a point in their life where there's no good things that are going to happen moving forward. There's no way out of the dark despair that they've been in for days, weeks, months, years. So I feel like they feel as though that death is the only option. It's the only escape out of life, the life that they have in the moment. I mean, it could be environmental, or it could be mental, it could be internal, their feelings, their thoughts, and it could be influenced by the environment that they're in. And for the most part, they really are trying to find a way out, and death seems to be the finite option. But we have a saying, though. There's, suicide would be a final solution to a temporary problem. And a lot of people feel as though that their problems, I mean, yes, there are some people who continuously have these problems on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
But they feel as though that it's gone on for so long.
It's
they feel
never
as though
going to end.
Right. They feel as though they've tried everything, but they haven't tried everything.
Exactly.
So it's a very sticky situation, and it's a very exhausting situation when it comes to this.
Now, let me just jump in real quick, Eli. So I've had, like we've all had, each and every one of us watching this has all had rough days, bad times. Like you talked about, the stretch that lasted longer than we would like it to. But are we doing our absolute best to get out of these situations? You know what I mean? I know you mentioned like having those thoughts is something that is kind of like the final resort, but it really isn't. It's almost like the easiest thing for you to do so you don't have to deal with overcoming the situation. So I found myself on my dark days thinking like, okay, how am I going to get out of my situation? How am I going to get my finances better? How am I going to make myself happier in life? But I wasn't applying myself to make those changes. And at the time, it felt like I could just soak in my sorrow.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
It was easier for me to be detached from everyone and keep all of that sorrow built in, you know what I mean? Without getting it out, without talking to somebody, without letting a family member know what I'm dealing with, a friend, a girlfriend, talking to God, you know what I mean? So whatever is able to bring me ease and soothe the situation, I wasn't exhausting myself. So I felt like it was easier to just say, you know what, I'm never gonna get over this. I'm never gonna amount to anything. I'm never gonna get to the height of life that I wanna be at. I'm never gonna accomplish my dreams and goals. So why even be here? So that was something that I personally experienced, and thank the Creator so much for me to gain some strength through those dark days to at least say, we gotta try harder.
Right, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head with that, because, you know, even as therapists, we have dark days too. We're all human. We're all human beings, right? You know, we ain't got all the answers. But when you talk about, you know, figuring out how you're going to get out of your dark days and how you get out of the rut that you're in, a lot of times, a lot of people focus on the end result of getting out of whatever issues that they're dealing with.
Without what it takes
to get there. But even if they do think about what it takes to get there, it's just so daunting and just so difficult. They feel as though it's so difficult because it just seems so impossible to do the steps to get there. Because again, like they feel as though they're, you know, with being, you say detached, but then when you're detached, you're isolating yourself. Yes. So you feel like you're by yourself and you're alone, and you can't get to the places that you need to be alone. You just.
So let me say this real quick, Eli. You made me sit up on this.
No,
I got a message for the people.
Go ahead, speak it.
We have to work hard for anything that we want and want to get out of. I think oftentimes we get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and that's a big no-no. I've done it. I'm sure Eli has done it at some point in his life.
Yes, sir.
We gotta push through. We gotta be stronger than what we're used to and know ourselves to be. Because your real strength, you probably haven't even seen yet. You don't know your max. You know how you in the gym and they say, what's your max? You don't know your mental max. You don't know your spiritual max. You know what I mean? So test yourself and push yourself to the ultimate extreme, like more than you ever have in life, to get through these times. That's all I wanted to sit up and say.
Okay. Yeah, you good.
Got a message for the people, man, because as you sitting there talking, like, it really sounds like we just want everything to be easy.
Right.
And that's the best way I think that I can say it from what you're saying. Like, we want things to be instant because, of course, they call it the microwave times. We want everything immediately. We want the overnight success.
Right.
We want to be viral just because we shot a quick flick or whatever the case may be. And it's like, oftentimes that's not realistic. The realistic thing is putting in that work.
Yeah. And I agree with that 100%. And I also, speaking on the microwave time that you said, like, you know, we as human beings, whether you like to believe it or not, we like to work for our meal. We like to work for our meal. I mean, I understand, like, you know, the McDonald's is, you know, quick, fast, easy, and all that stuff. But
we're not promoting McDonald's on here either, y'all. We promoting eating good and healthy. But go ahead.
And that's exactly what I was leading to, because it's just like when you make a meal, you put shit, you know, you put time into it, you put thought into it, you put love into it.
Nice.
And everyone will enjoy that much better. Everyone is going to enjoy, like, oh, a home cooked meal.
Grandma's cooking.
Grandma's cooking. Like, you know, everyone
Right.
gets excited about
Shout
that.
out to the grandmas, moms, and yours.
So it's just like everyone gets excited about that. But it takes, again, behind the scenes, right?
The preparation.
The prep.
Yes.
And getting the ingredients, making sure you grab everything that you need, everything that the recipe needs.
Well said.
So you gotta incorporate what's your recipe book for your happiness.
Right.
That's what it's about.
Wow. I agree. So we was thinking about why somebody would want to even make this an option for themselves in life.
Right.
So there's different reasons. It could be financial reasons, okay? It can be relationship reasons, when you put so much love into somebody else, but you lack that self-love, so you feel like you can't go on without this person. So that could be a reason. Unfortunately, some people go through all types of physical pain in life, chronic pain in life. That could be another reason why somebody just says, just take me, God. Just let this be the last day. And if it doesn't happen naturally, you want to speed up the process. Now, I've never experienced, physical, endless, chronic pain, so I could never sit here and try to put myself in someone's shoes. But in that regard, I just want to say, just do all you can. And before you even get to that point, take care of your body. You know what I mean? Some things are abrupt. Accidents happen. But a lot of the things that happen to us happen over time. It's a lot of buildup of us making the bad, healthy choices. And it's everywhere. You know what I mean? That's our society and many of our households. And again, that instant way of living and not putting in that preparation that Eli was just talking about. So I'm sure there's several other reasons of wanting to have these thoughts, but those were just a few that I can think of as we're sitting here having this conversation.
Yeah, and there are a couple more that I could think of too, where, like, as far as what I've experienced with my clients, right, where they have such immense guilt and shame for what they have done that has changed their life.
Wow.
And being able to really confront that and sit with it is very, very hard for a lot of people, because you're forced with being accountable for what you have done and seeing the ramifications, or the ripple effect of how that has changed your life, but also all the other people's lives as a side effect. So a lot of times they just have such disgust or disdain for themselves, where they're just like, I've done X, Y, and Z and destroyed my family's life, or in my life has changed for the worse. Going through a divorce, or my parents or my family doesn't want to talk to me anymore. And, a lot of people are just pushing them away, or they pulled themselves away from their families. And they feel as though that death is the only option out.
That hit me a little differently, because I don't just do these videos because I don't have personal experiences or know of someone. But when you mention that guilt part, somebody that I care about immensely, is very dear to my heart, lost one of her parents due to suicide. And from what I was told, was probably from some guilt.
Right.
That he was holding on to. You know what I mean? Whatever other mental health issues may have been going on, that I don't know. You know what I mean?
Right,
clinically. Right. But the guilt part of it that you mentioned made me think about them. So stay strong. I love y'all. And as long as you believe that and that self-love is the answer, and the Creator will give us forgiveness if we're sincere about wanting that forgiveness, so we can change what tomorrow has in store for us, right, versus dwelling on what already took place.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Because and first thing first, you got to forgive yourself.
Yes.
Because you can't, if you don't forgive yourself, you're never going to get forgiven. Mm-hmm. Ever. How can you? You're never going to make that step towards forgiveness. Mm-hmm. You're just going to sit in the sorrow and the guilt and the shame and the sadness, the depression, the anxiety of it all. And it's going to just go loop around in your mind over and over and over again as long as you stay in it. Mm-hmm. If you don't talk about it, sometimes talking about it definitely helps. Mm-hmm. Whether you talk to a therapist, talk to family, friends, trusted friends and family, obviously, somebody who you feel as though you can trust to talk about certain things with.
You know who I could trust?
Yeah.
The Creator. I trust the Creator.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think when you have that type of guilt or thoughts, it makes you feel like it damages your relationship with God. You know what I mean? And you may not feel so free and willing to want to have those type of conversations. I think those are the best conversations that you can have. Yes, a professional opinion is marvelous. Right. I promote that on this channel. But when you're alone and you're having those bad days that we just spoke of, praying and reading and elevating your mind and your spirit has to be one of the best answers that you can do for yourself. You know what I mean? So I believe that this is the Mind, Body, and Soul Control channel, y'all. I can't say that enough. And I might even add goal. Mind, body, soul, and goal control. Right? We are always trying to achieve something. At least we should be. So those were some of the reasons why some people may even want to think of harming themselves. And that is not the answer. The answer is putting in work to change whatever the current situation is, so you can further change the outcome of your life and how you feel about yourself, and more importantly, how much you love yourself.
Right.
Okay? Because this is really all about self-love. I really believe that if we were raised to believe how worthy of individuals we are, our level of self-love will be heightened.
Oh yeah, it would definitely transcend.
Because if it starts from the cradle up,
right,
you know what I mean, then, these times and the lack that we feel within ourselves, they probably will be a lot less. So for someone that is having these thoughts, what are some things that they can do to try to help the situation? So what are some treatments? What kind of options does someone have?
So when it comes to treatment, as far as like in the therapy world, mm-hmm. There are some things where we, like, for example, there's like a suicide prevention template that we have where we'll talk about what are the specific thoughts or mindsets or outside external influences that can influence that kind of thinking of wanting to harm yourself. And then outside of that, we go into, okay, what are some things you can do instead that can relieve that thought or that can distract you away from that thought. So, I mean, sometimes it could be something that's as simple as getting out of your room, whatever space you're in at that point in time. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you can just leave, just go out for a walk or listen to positive music or even just soundscapes sometimes. Sometimes soundscapes help a lot. Even, gospel music, if whichever genre of music kind of gets you out of your head for even a modicum of time, could just be helpful, just as helpful. Work, make sure you're physically active. Go for a walk, read, even writing. And I feel like, writing, I think like journaling and things like that, everyone is going to have those bad days. So you can definitely have at it and just write about how you're feeling. If you're feeling horrible that day, if you feel like, you're thinking about suicide, you write that down, you get it out of your head. Because sometimes when you get it out of your head, you realize, yeah, this is not, I don't like looking and reading and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I got to do something about it. And also too, on another section of the template that we have, it's like, okay, what are going to be some preventative measures? What are the 3 top people you can call? And sometimes there are some people that don't even have one person to call.
Yes.
So there's the suicide prevention hotline. There's 78888
988 is the number.
Yeah, 988.
We got that right on the screen right there for y'all. 988. We dial that, and they're supposed to have trained individuals who can help you through these situations that you're facing.
And then there's also, your local hospitals also can help with this as well. If you're feeling suicidal, you check yourself into a hospital, and they'll help you out there as well too. But I mean, for the most part, but again, like we typically, if someone is telling us that they want to commit suicide or they want to do some kind of self-harm, we take that very seriously.
As you should.
And we report that to the hospital, and we try to admit them to the hospital.
Can we do a quick role play, Eli? You up for a little role play?
Yeah, why not?
How about this? I'm on the couch sitting how I am, so I set this up purposely, y'all. So I know I'm looking extra relaxed, but he's the professional therapist. I'm gonna be the patient, all right? So, and we didn't even plan to do this, so I'm just freestyling right now. So let's see what a quick response would be from our therapist here, Eli. So I'm here in your office, and I'm sitting here. Now, I remember from the last video, you said oftentimes it's not set up like this. But for the set's sake.
For the set's sake.
For the set's sake. I got my whole movie set right here.
Little Freudian chair, yeah.
Right. All right,
Freudian
so
couch.
if I sat here with you and I'm saying, it doesn't seem like anything in my life is worth living for. It seems like everything that I'm doing in life is not how I saw myself being. Financially, as a husband, as a father, as a friend. It just seemed like everything that I look at and everything that I touch, it just kind of crumbles, and it makes me feel crumbled inside. And oftentimes I just feel like, why am I even here? What do I have to offer the world? What do I have to offer my family? To anyone? And it just doesn't seem like I want to be here anymore.
Yeah, I understand how you feel, Omar. I do. Because there's a lot of times in life where, we're not our best. And then everything around us crumbles, like you said, as a response to that. But I want you to think about, we're all not perfect. We're all not the same every day. So do you think you can be able to pick up the crumbled pieces and try to mend them together and be, imperfect, but still continuing to show some of that resilience that you want to become stronger at the other end of the side?
All right. Good job. I'm at a role playing right now. I'm back. I'm back to the King Omar Sharif. But to be honest with you with that, what I was saying, it kind of was just flowing because, like I said, there have been times where I felt like that about myself.
Right.
You know, so which is why when September rolled around and I realized that it was Suicide Awareness Month, I wanted to speak on it. Now, another thing that I wanted to speak on, because I mentioned the person that I care about, her and her family actually. Hi y'all, I love y'all. And I thought about other times in life where I remember being in high school. Now, this is how I realized that suicide doesn't have a color. Suicide doesn't have an age. It doesn't have a gender. It can happen to anybody at any time for certain individuals, right? So when I was in high school, I remember going to school one day and he said, "Hey man, he killed himself yesterday." Now we all, at the time I was a sophomore, he was 1 year younger than me, so he was a freshman. So imagine a 14-year-old taking a shotgun and killing himself, ending his life. When you think of being 14 and 15 years old, high school, elementary school, you would never think that something would be so devastating on a child's life, a young adult's life, where they would think about taking their own life. So that was my first encounter with knowing someone and thinking about what suicide is and how it affects lives and how it affects families. So that was my first time. And then this was years ago. So now let's speed it up to 2023. I realized through social media that somebody that I had known from years ago, they just lost their life. So you like, man, it hit hard. And this particular person, we used to play on the same basketball team in our neighborhood. And he was like a year or two younger than me, you know what I mean? And it was my team, I was doing my thing, so he always remembered me from then because we ended up winning a championship that year. And I got MVP and it was beautiful. So years later on social media, I see that he lost his life. And I'm like, man, automatically, just being from where we from, you thinking that something might have happened to him, that, you know, somebody hurt him. Him hurting himself was the last thing that came to thought. Because when you looking from the outside in, people don't wear their pain and showing you their hurt and showing you their trauma. They don't show you that. When you look on your social media feeds, you looking at people enjoying themselves, they smiling. That's what we see. That's the outside looking in. He was a father. So just thinking about how I found out how he took his life. Here I am again. 3 separate situations where somebody that I know was affected by suicide. So with that, I just wanted to mention that sometimes there aren't many signs. You can have people that you think are the happiest individuals in life. Like one of the greatest comics ever, Robin Williams, took his life and everybody's just so shocked. What? I can't believe it. He made us all laugh for years. We talking about Mrs. Doubtfire, right? And all the other wonderful things that he's done over the course of his career. But suicide oftentimes doesn't show you the signs. But there are signs sometimes when you got people who may often talk about death, may often talk about hurting other people or hurting themselves, may always feel like they're in some miserable or devastated state of mind. So sometimes you can kind of like look at it and say, all right, well, maybe something wrong with this person. And maybe I should be there a little bit more. Or maybe I should suggest that they go see somebody. But a lot of times it ends up being people that you would never think would take their life. And I actually forgot about one other person. Now, not every person is successful with their suicide attempts. Think about the people that try to hurt themselves who are unsuccessful. Not only do they want to hurt themselves, not only do they want to end their lives, but they have to deal with the failure, another failure.
Yeah.
I can't even kill myself. And then they got to deal with the embarrassment of people knowing that you have these type of thoughts and you're going through whatever mental health crisis that you're in. Like all of that is exposed.
Right.
So that, I think that might be even worse. You know what I mean? Like it's a part of people's testimony.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Once you get to the glory. But when you try to end the story and you don't succeed at that, you're like, man, what can I succeed at?
Yeah, and like what you just said reminded me of there's a documentary that came out years ago about the people that attempted to jump off the Golden State Bridge.
Wow. The person, I'm sorry, I'm gonna let you go right back in, but the person that I thought about that failed tried to jump off a bridge. Right. I didn't even say that to you, and that's the first thing you brought up, so go ahead.
And a lot of people, there's plenty of people who have had successful suicides off the Golden State Bridge, but these people that were talking in the documentary were unsuccessful at it, and many of them said they regretted it as they were falling into the water.
Wow.
Once they jumped off and as they were falling, that's the moment they were just like, no, I can't.
And that's the thought that people who succeed don't get to tell you.
Right.
Because at that point, they're gone.
Right.
So for them to say, as I was going through it, I wish I hadn't, that's very real.
Yeah. People don't want to show or tell their vulnerabilities. And it's understandable because, you know, you may have people in your life that will exploit that and use it against you. And that is the most like devastating thing for anyone. And I understand that. But we have to remember that this is just, you know, all of that is trial and error when it comes to expressing your vulnerabilities. Who are you going to express those vulnerabilities to? Is it someone who you trust? Or is it someone that you can't trust? But you're going to know that once you become vulnerable with that person, whoever they may be. And then maybe if you're vulnerable about something else, right? Instead of telling them what's really going on, you tell them something by proxy, something similar, but not really
Not exact.
Not exact.
I have a friend that's...
Yeah. And then, you know, if they run around and tell people, you know not to trust them. You know not to be vulnerable with that person. Or if they give you something that's going to be, they give you some insight that's pretty harmful or not helpful at all, then you know that's not the person. So you need to continue to find another person. And that's pretty similar to the fight to the light, right? Because you're in the dark and you want to fight to the light, right? So you have to continue to maneuver and pivot and try different things. If one thing doesn't work, you know, try something else, try another thing. Same thing with, you know, all these guys out here who have their businesses and everything like that. Not everything was just peachy for them on the road to success. They've had probably multiple businesses, and those businesses probably failed along the way. So think about that as far as perspective too. As far as like some things may not work out, but just try again. try it again. As far as like, you know, with my example, trying again is trying to be vulnerable with another person and seeing what happens with that. And if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. There's always going to be someone who's going to listen to you genuinely and care about you genuinely, because you might find somebody who's going through the same thing.
Mm-hmm. You made me think about this song I sing with my daughter. Now, you know, she's not even from this era, but when you know good music, y'all, just like our parents did, we got to pass that down
Yes,
to
sir.
our kids. So one of them, when you was talking about the resilience part of it, you made me think about Aaliyah.
Right.
Rest in peace. If at first you don't succeed, you know that joint. What you gotta do? Dust yourself off and try again. Dust yourself off and try again.
Try again.
So yeah, rest in peace, Aaliyah. But I sing that with my daughter because, and my son, but my daughter likes it more because, you know, it's Aaliyah and stuff like that.
Right.
But I want them to know, like, everything not gonna go your way,
Right.
right? And with living, and I love what you just said about that fight to the light. I never heard it like that, y'all. So I might, it's cool if I take that one.
No, I didn't trademark it. Go ahead.
I ain't gonna trademark it. How about we use it together?
Yes, sir.
All right, so with that fight to the light, it kind of wants, I want to talk about the self-love now, because like I mentioned earlier, self-love has to be one of the cures for this, right? Because if you love yourself enormously and abundantly, then you wouldn't want to see your light dim out. You would want that light to continue to shine. And you would want that light to touch other people who are going through things that we all go through, so they can allow their light to shine. And while we were sitting here singing that song, it made me think about resiliency. We have to be resilient. Just because something isn't going our way doesn't mean we quit. We cannot be quitters, especially not on ourselves, not on our lives.
Right.
These are gifts from God. I'm a gift from God. Eli's a gift from God. We all have different purposes and walks in life. And we have to figure those walks out. We have to figure out our journeys. And all of these downs that we go through are part of the ups, so we could appreciate them more. So we can develop our confidence. That's another thing that we got to do. When you have self-love, you have confidence in yourself because you believe in yourself. You believe that things are going to be better. You believe that you could change. So those are two important things that I believe are very important on the value of self-love. And that'll help you with your emotions. When you feel like your emotions are out of whack, and our emotions can be high 1 minute, low the next. They talk about low vibrations and high frequencies, and it's a roller coaster ride for most of us. But if you can figure out how to balance things and not how to take those negatives and just allow them to just be anchors in your life, to be like that ball and chain, you just pulling it. It doesn't have to be that. So when we're resilient and we have self-confidence, then we're able to look at things and be in a better emotional state. And with that, I also want to say when we're able to control our emotions better, we'll be able to have better relationships with other people.
Even ourselves.
Yes, yourself first. Your self relationship that you have with you is the most important relationship of all, outside of God. Okay? And I believe that God is in us. We just have to identify that so we can show it. Okay? But that within yourself part of it that Eli just mentioned is the first and most important relationship that you got to have, so you can have successful relationships outside of yourself, so you can have respect for somebody else, which is why you got killers out here just not thinking nothing about life, which is why in our communities we out here killing each other for all the wrong reasons. And I mean, ain't no reason to be killing nobody, to be honest, but because we have so much misunderstanding and not enough love of self, we don't respect and love nobody else's life. So I wanted to say that as well. I don't want to give y'all all the self-love ideas that I have, but we have more, just like we're going to have more for next week. I'm going to have Eli come back and we're going to further this conversation because it is Suicide Awareness Month. And I want to just direct a lot of time and energy on this so we can try to express the importance of self-love so we can get these numbers down. Also this week, I have a self-love challenge for y'all. And I thought of doing something, and it's ironic that you mentioned writing and putting things in a journal, because that's what my self-love challenge is. I challenge you out there to write something very nice about yourself. Be very open, be very honest, be very personal about you. And show yourself some gratitude. Show yourself some appreciation. I'm sure that you're not all bad. Nobody is all bad. Nobody's time in life is all bad. So focus on the good. That's my challenge to you. Write down your appreciation for yourself. Write down why you love yourself, or what you're good at, or what you love to do. And when days get bad or you're having a moment, I want you to go back and pull that letter out to remind yourself of the good person that you are and what you have to offer the world, because that can offer you a boost to get you out of that funk that you may be in. So that's my self-love challenge for the week. You think that's a good challenge?
I think that's an amazing challenge.
I think that's a good challenge, right?
Yeah.
So I love y'all. Y'all my people. Y'all my family. And I'm going to do this too. Don't think that I'm not doing these challenges. You going to do this challenge?
Oh, yeah.
All right? Because we
Absolutely.
don't got it all together, y'all. We just like to put light on certain topics and talk about them, because just like he said, we don't talk enough. Everything is held within ourselves, and we turn out the lights and nothing ever changes. We don't get better from that. We don't grow from that. So leave in the comments that you've done and tried the self-love challenge for this week. And also feel free to write into the secret scrolls. You can write in anonymously and let me know about your experience, whatever experience you want to talk about, get some advice about relationship, self-love, having these bad thoughts, whatever it may be. Write into the secret scroll letter at gmail.com. I got that right there for y'all, secret scroll letter at gmail.com. And if I pick yours, we'll talk about it on the show, okay? So make sure you stay tuned to that. Also, I saw, man, you done finished the whole thing, but you got a little bit left for a toast. It's toast time with the king.
Sir.
I made some blueberry juice for me and Eli. Blueberries, y'all. Come on. It's like one of those superfoods. Great for your vision, great for your stomach, your brain, all types of antioxidants. And if we can add more things of fruit and nature and vegetables like this in our lives, then it'll do tremendous things for our bodies. Because a lot of us are sluggish and we need to be on the ball. We got a lot to do, y'all. We got a lot of goals to get. So this toast right here, Eli, is going to be for us gaining self-love, appreciating ourselves, knowing that we come from God, the Creator, knowing that we're made out of love. Our parents made us out of love, making love, hopefully. And we're going to just look at ourselves in a much better light. What you say?
Fight for the light.
We're going to fight for the light, y'all. So this toast is to us.
Yes, sir.
We're going to see y'all on the next episode of Toxic Tuesday. Make sure you tune in and let a friend know. That's love, y'all.